Hi, welcome to BD Stroked. Given a warning now, maybe trigger issues, maybe something you need to be concerned about. So if you got trigger issues, you may not want to watch.
This topic is going to be on marijuana.
So please like, share, and subscribe. Last video, you were looking at me smugly because I didn't remember how I got out of my depression.
Mm-hmm.
And so why don't you start in sharing?
I did.
Hi, Molly.
It was finding the right strain of marijuana. We have done a ton of research, a lot of deep diving, and learning about the different terpenes that make up different strains, which ones affect pain, anxiety, depression, energy, and trying a different combination. You didn't want to use pharmaceuticals for anxiety and depression and such, and I respect that.
Or even pain.
Or even pain.
I don't use it for blood pressure.
Yep. But if you chose not to go that route, then we knew we had to find an alternative route. And so we have found with just the right combination of THC and CBD, that we've found the combinations that seem to work.
Yep. And we are making our own. We're cooking down our own.
So when we go to a marijuana shop, and we usually go to the medical, what do they call them? Dispensaries. Because he does have his medical card. The doctor gave that to him right away when he knew he didn't want to do pharmaceuticals, so that we could start researching for pain. We have it down where you know which strains, and if you go in there and they say, oh, well, we don't have that, but we have this, it's a no. It's, we very much have what works for you.
We've made it so that pretty much, except for, 1 to 2, sometimes 3 days a week, I'm in pretty good pain.
Yep.
But other than that, we've got it down that the pain levels are pretty manageable.
And
not even all days anymore. We're managing it pretty darn reasonably.
And with trying out the different strains and trying to figure out what worked for you, was we could tell really within 15-20 minutes if it was going to cause paranoia, because that was one thing. Another thing that you struggled with was paranoia.
Left
and
to me from the stroke,
Yeah, some of them can cause that. And we're like, okay, nope, that one doesn't work. I could also tell when he was experimenting with a new one that we've talked about, because you can see those subtle differences of which ones were working,
right?
Which ones weren't, whether it was, okay, well, you don't seem to have a lot of anxiety and stuff today, but you're in pain. Which one did you use today? Right. And we really started narrowing down
what mixture we needed,
versus nighttime. And then if you led to, if one didn't work for him, well, we didn't just throw it away because it is expensive. We make our own THC CBD cream for joints. So we would just...
hand, joints, backs, shoulders.
Yeah. So we would use it for cooking.
Knees.
And make it into basically an arthritis cream, let's put it that way.
Yep.
So it was still going to use...
An arthritis pain cream. I mean, it really does suck the pain out of things.
And when it's in a cream format, you don't have the same effects of paranoia, anxiety, or anything like that. It doesn't do that, but the combination of the THC and the CBD...
I'm not having to put other chemicals through onto my liver and kidneys. Mm-hmm. The cream... And you can see that my hand's crumbling here. Mm-hmm. And the cream makes it where I don't even really feel my hand in pain right now when I move it. It's really nice.
So that, I strongly believe that was where we hit a turning point with the depression and anxiety.
Okay, after we talked a little bit and I got back on track with where you remembered that, we were using it for pain.
Uh-huh.
Staying away from the paranoia, but then we found that we could actually use it to battle anxiety and depression and panic. We have not figured the triggers for overloading yet.
No.
That is still, we've got we don't have it under control, but we got
Yeah.
tools that can handle the situation. But the overloading we have not been able to figure, and it crumbles me, and it's embarrassing, and we'll eventually figure it out at some point. But right now that one's not under control yet, but we're working on it.
Well, and you know,
It's a little under control. Like it's not as bad as it used to be.
yeah, it's and that's a part of that rolls back to what we've already talked about in previous videos of having a routine for you.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, you know where to go for everything, whether it's
Yep.
just the clothes, the
Yep.
spices.
I see the same things. I
Yep.
hear the same things.
You take your medications roughly about the same time. It's very routine driven.
Yep.
The dogs go on a walk at this time. They get fed at this time. That seems to also have helped cut down on anxiety hugely
Mm-hmm.
because you know this is the routine.
We also stay on my routine with our herbal.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't miss doses because it sets my head off pretty darn quick.
It does. And once your head gets tripped like that, depending on what the trigger was, and a lot of times we do try to figure out what was the trigger that
Right.
caused this,
Right.
because then we can adjust or whatever. It doesn't come back instantly. You have
Right.
to walk it back, which is why it's always been important to us to know, okay, what happened today that triggered this episode of whether it's depression, anxiety, paranoia.
Yep.
Because then we know how do we address that if it were to happen in the future?
Right.
And
And
that
that
helps cut down.
and figuring out what triggered things also has brought us back to clarity for me, because I used to do a lot more driving. I used to try to get out and do things. And we realized, well, then I would spend 3 or 4 days locked in the house, not being able to leave. Well, that's not really a life either. So me staying home and not getting to do everything I want to do, even though it's tough and I fight it, it makes it where I can have a life that it's not in crumbled and I'm laying in bed doing
Right.
nothing.
And you do better when we go out together.
Oh,
So you
I don't
wait,
leave
you
without
wait, you wait until I get home and we go and do things together, whether it's during the week if it's nice outside or on the weekend, so that you're still getting out and doing things. You seem to,
A lot of the problem is if somebody wants to get, I don't want to say win the argument. If somebody wants to prove their point, somebody wants to walk me in circles in a conversation, just out when I'm not in a comfortable one, on a topic, knowing what I'm talking about, they can still walk me in circles, and I will try to make up stuff so I don't sound like I don't know what they're talking about. And my whole brain goes into panic mode. I don't have a clue what somebody can walk me in circles in a conversation if they want to.
And that's where I think finding, if you're open to or wanting to try the route of THC and CBD, it is important to learn about the terpenes.
Which ones? How much of each
How
one?
much of each one is in the different strains
Yep.
to know what works for you.
Yep. And right there, let's go that when you walk into a dispensary and you ask for a strain, they're normally going to go, well, not normally, but sometimes, if they don't have it, they're going to go, no, but we have this one that has about the same effects.
Be willing to say no. They're not used to that because they figure it's a guaranteed sale for anyone who walks through. And they've been shocked when we've said, no, thank you. You know, you guys have a good day.
We have the terpenes down to how much of this one, how much of this one. It's not just the right ones anymore. It's how much of each one I get. And it is keeping all this in check for us. We have added one now in the last 2 weeks that is helping fight fatigue for the afternoon. We're adding some of those terpenes in. So, and we're leveling out where those are. We use it to sleep, and we have ones that go down that route. So you got to know what you're doing because it's not a game. But on the other hand, it is definitely a tool.
Yeah. Well, and no one would know. I mean, you're on it now. by finding the right one that works for your body, no one would know that you were using anything, because you're not acting goofy, you're not acting silly, you're not acting stupid, you're not, as they say, couch locked and asking for the bag of Doritos. So,
I believe that's the same. Correct me. I don't. Head up here. Same with medicine. That you're not going to get all loopy if it's actually going to the point of the pain. So it's if you have the pain, then you're using it then. But if you don't have pain and you're using it, then you're getting loopy.
Hydrocodone, Percocet can knock people out right away. Well, that's no different than if they got a really strong marijuana,
really high
sativa or something that knocks them out. So it's really
puts
no
the
different.
paranoia
it's just
in there and they freak out. Yeah.
I had major back surgery, and they gave me one. I can't remember which one, but it was a no-go for me because it just...
That was Percocet.
Percocet.
Yes.
Just made me paranoid and awful.
Bad dreams.
Night terrors and stuff like that. So it's so important to find whether you're doing a strain of marijuana, a prescription drug. If that didn't work for you, you try something else. Well, marijuana works the same way. If you're not finding the right strain because it's still causing these side effects or something, then do a little more research. Find out a little bit more. Narrow down what works for your body chemistry.
We're not ending, but it really is for your health to spend a little bit of time doing the research, dig in, and you can just Google the terpenes and what they do for your body. I'll actually put a piece of paper, I'll put it up above here, what the terpenes all can do. And if you line up the ones in the strains, it is a tool if you want to use it. If you don't. All this stuff is, if you like a tool, grab it and use it. If you don't like it, throw it away.
Exactly.
Nobody's telling you have to do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Jesus wants you to believe.
Yeah, sure. But that is what actually helped bring you out of your depression, was us finding the right strain. And that's where we're at.
Yep. Well, look at the terpenes, and we run off them, and we will break down the terpenes even more into the salves that we use on that episode, because we use certain terpenes, and also in the essential oils, the terpenes that are in those for the hand creams and things. So we'll break all that down.
And it's important to know the different strains have different growing seasons. So you can't just say, I found this one, and then guarantee you're always going to be able to find it, because you might not. So for us, it's continuing education and learning as different strains come out during different times of the year, so that you have, this one has stopped growing and now I need to switch to this one because I can find it.
Right.
So it is important to realize that, because it is a natural growing plant. It has seasons just like any other flowers or plants, and to find continuing to work and grow and look at that.
Well, it has seasons, but so does all of the anxiety and depressions. So you're going to find that sometimes you're going to need to up other terpenes because the depression's sneaking in.
Wintertime, when it's darker.
If the anxiety's stretching in, which is usually summertime because you're out seeing more people and you're doing more things, then you need to adjust your terpenes that way.
Yeah.
It's not, I found this strain and it's just going to work for me. We are adjusting terpenes at least 4 to 5 times a year right now, just to maintain and stay at least clear-headed.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's work.
It is. But for us, it has been 100% worth the time and effort to do it.
We just made it through a winter season, a holiday season, without a bad panic attack, without a bad anxiety attack. The head is overloaded probably 3 times, maybe 2. 2 to 3.
Well, you had 1 or 2 anxiety attacks type things, but compared to like last year, so huge improvement in that area. Huge.
So, and next year will be better. And every year we've made growth, but it's because we're willing to work. It's because we're not willing to accept this.
Yep.
And
Agreed.
Knowing I'll never get better, but knowing that if we keep working and I keep going forward and we keep adjusting everything, eventually we'll get to a point where we can live. It's for your health. Thanks.